Hi, I'm Sydney. Welcome to the Forbidden Cities, a Keeper of the Lost Cities podcast where Jaycie and I talk about Keeper of the Lost Cities books, theories, characters, ships, and more. Hello guys, it is episode 19, and we're back again, and we are going to be revisiting our thoughts on the Keeper characters' MBTIs from 10 episodes ago.
Yes.
Jaycie will explain more because she knows more about this than me.
We were just like, what's a really easy episode that we can do with minimal preparation? And the reason for that is, so now I'm moving. We mentioned in the last episode that Sydney just moved. Now I'm moving, and so me and my 7 siblings are packing up our house, and it's been crazy. And then, I'm going off to college.
Like a week ago, and I was like,
it was
what?
kind of a sudden thing. Yeah, my dad got another job, so he's going to be moving cities, and so it's just, and it's at the same time that I'm leaving to go to college, so our family has had a fun couple of weeks, but yeah, our recordings will probably be kind of once a month now, just because that's going to be what's easiest with my school schedule, and I'll still be working part-time in college, so yeah, it's going to be, a little bit less than usual, but that's what we can do. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So, the actual subject of the episode, Myers-Briggs types. So, I got a few, emails and reviews saying that people actually really like those episodes. I was kind of nervous because, not a lot of people understand Myers-Briggs. And so, I was like, I hope people like it. But they did. And so, now I'm really excited, and we're revisiting that because we agree with some of the types that we came to, but Sydney's done a little bit of this too, but I have been researching a ton of Myers-Briggs and watching videos and just trying to learn as much as I can about the system, especially the cognitive functions and the actual right way to apply it rather than just trying to stereotype or do letter by letter typing. And so I feel like I was looking back at how he typed some of the characters, and I can see why. I'll say it this way. I disagree with some of the things that I said before. So.
I'm very interested to hear this. Let's just say I'm interested.
So, the first one that, I know that I still agree with is Sophie. I still agree with what I said, that Sophie's an INFJ. And there was just a ton of data to prove that. The best thing that Sydney actually found in the last episode was that part in Lodestar where she puts together the Never Seen's whole plan. That was the most introverted intuition and introverted thinking loop that I've ever seen. And by the way, if you haven't listened to our last Myers-Briggs episode, you should go back and listen to that, especially the first one, because we really do explain kind of the system there. Let me try to give you kind of a quick introduction to typing, or at least to some of the phrases I'll be using so that you're not completely lost if you've never heard of Myers-Briggs before. So it's a system that, divides up personalities into 16 different, 4-letter types. And so the first of the 4 letters is E or I, and that is whether you're introverted or extroverted. So I is for introverted, E is for extroverted. The second letter is for sensing or intuition, and sometimes we'll say observant instead of sensor, but that's S or N. Usually intuitives will like to go a little bit more into the, what's the word for it, Sydney? I don't know. Intuitives would listening to this podcast. Intuitives like to think deeply and try to figure out the meaning behind things and just stuff like that. Sensors are more okay, but what's practical in the real world?
Yeah, practicality.
Yeah. And then and that doesn't necessarily mean that sensors aren't all robot type people, because there's feeling and thinking. So you'll see that SF types, people with sensing and then feeling, because the third letter is T or F for thinking or feeling. And then the last of the 4 letters is judging and perceiving. That actually doesn't mean anything except for in the functions. Now, a lot of the time you'll hear, judging means you're organized and perceiving means you're disorganized, but that is completely a stereotype. It is not true at all. Perceiving types can be very organized. Judging types can be very disorganized. Trust me, I am a judging type. It just explains how you use your functions, and it means something different based on whether you're introverted or extroverted. So it's a code. It's a code for the functions. And then
I think in the other episode I said it's less like you're building each letter on top of each other and more like you're putting a code into a calculator and getting a result from it.
Yes. The 4 letters are just like a code that make up the functions. And that's what you'll hear us typing based off of, is the functions, because that's going to be the more accurate, like what's going on inside your head. So there are 8 functions, and they're the same. Well, 2 of them are the same as the letters, thinking and feeling. There's an introverted feeling and an extroverted feeling, an introverted thinking and extroverted thinking, introverted intuition and extroverted intuition, and then introverted sensing and extroverted sensing. And so that's kind of those middle 2 letters that I mentioned in the 4 letter types, N or S and F or T. So basically that's what we're going to be talking about. And if you want to understand it, then look it up. If not, take a test. Try to take an accurate one and see if you match any of the characters that we talk about.
Or you can go back to our episodes 9 and 10, and we give an overview there. So
yeah,
a little bit.
There you go. So like we said, I agree with Sophie being INFJ. I think that she's very NI, very FE. She's very focused on the group, how the group is feeling, rather than this is how I feel, and so I'm going to do this. I feel like also an FI user would be a little bit less hesitant to, like, accept the help of friends. I feel like that's kind of a really FE thing to be like, oh no,
I see what you're saying.
I feel so bad for having you all help me. An FI user would be like, that's right, you're going to support my cause. I feel like...
actually...
FI DOMs would be less likely to, that doesn't kill the INFP argument. Like,
oh, okay.
Like, if you're trying to say Sophie's INFP, the way I would say no is the way she uses her introverted intuition, which is something INFPs don't use at all. Because she just really connects things a lot. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other examples. Go ahead.
The main difference, what Jaycie's saying, is Sophie does not usually use NE, which is Extroverted Intuition, which would be coming up with new possibilities or jumping from possibility to possibility. She's more, let me gather the information and find the answer, which is more of a introverted intuition type thing.
Yeah, and one example is in Legacy, whenever Keith, like, brings up a possibility, and this is, Sydney, one reason that I think he could be an extroverted intuition dominant, and we'll get to that, but he would just kind of throw out possibilities for her parents, and she would be like, full slippery slope, like, is it Bron? Oh my goodness, well, that means all of these implications, and it's the worst thing ever. And then he'd, like, throw out Lady Cadence, or whoever threw that out, and she was like, oh my goodness, that'd be so awkward. Like, it was just, like, the full, she would follow it all the way down. And so that's not, an extroverted intuition user would be like, well, there's this, and then, like, just bring up the next one, which is kind of like what Keith was doing. Which I think is a good example. That scene was kind of a good example of how Annie and NI work together, but we're not doing Keith yet.
One. Yeah, we'll get there. Oh no, there's a spider. Why are there always bugs when I'm recording? I'm trying to kill it. Die! It's a tiny little spider. Die!
I'm sitting in the laundry room, so some animal's probably gonna crawl out from behind the dryer.
Anyways. Yeah, that scene, I think we should end up looking at it because that's the one scene that he does seem very extroverted intuition. So,
and he's also very extroverted feeling in that, which is why...
Yeah.
We'll get to it. Okay, Sophie.
Okay, we'll get there.
I agree with her. The other one that I still agree with is Fitz. So, we typed him as ESTJ, and we found out later that, Sydney, your dad is actually ESTJ, right?
Yep. As far as we can tell so far. It makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because that makes my parents INFJ and ESTJ, so fits me.
So fits,
yeah. But, as my mom says, they met as adults, so they were both very mature. True. By that point, they were not teenagers, and so, healthy MBTI types can be with any other healthy MBTI type,
and I think that Fitz is under a fair amount of stress in the series.
Oh, yeah.
And so it does make him sort of I have an example. In Legacy, right whenever Fitzby sort of breaks up, well, he comes back and he's talking to Sophie, and he's trying to, like, figure out basically what's wrong with her, and he starts, like, basically using his, what would it be? Inferior extroverted intuition, I guess. Yeah. Istjs have inferior extroverted intuition, but he was trying to, like, come up with possibilities for what was wrong, and it was really driving her crazy because she was like, leave me alone, and he was like, haha, no. So
emu made.
So,
go look at our meme account, it's funny.
Oh yes, we have many wonderful Fitz memes on our meme account. Please look.
I'm referencing one.
But yeah, he sort of used that inferior extroverted intuition because he was under stress and being like, is this what's wrong? And it was really not helping the situation. But yeah, in general, he's very, I think he is also an Enneagram 3. I just randomly pulled an Enneagram for no reason, but I promise there is a reason.
Yeah,
because he's very
that would make a lot of
conscious
sense.
of his image and, like, how society sees him.
Wait, we need to do an Enneagram one. Though that's
Let's
a
just
bit
throw
harder.
it in. This is also an Enneagram episode now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay.
That will work. Sophie, though. Oh, I know what
He
we
would
said
be
about Sophie.
3-wing too, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not a 4.
He's not a 4, and he'd be giving all the gifts to Sophie. He's like, hey, like me because I'm
true.
helpful. Yeah, wing 2 makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so that would be how his introverted sensing works almost. Like, this is how... And with the matchmaking... Okay, one thing about TESI, which is ESTJ, is they can be very...
Yeah, we should probably say that ESTJ has the top function of TE, which is extroverted thinking, and then their next function is introverted sensing, which is SI, which is kind of like categorizing things based on the past. Anyway.
Yeah. And so Fitz is very... They've had matchmaking in the past, and it's very determinative of your social status, and therefore that's how I am going to, do this now. I'm going to abide by the matchmaking system, and there's no other way around this, Sophie. There's no other possibilities. I'm going to be stubborn and refuse to use my inferior extroverted intuition, because that's one thing. Your inferior function, it would be his tertiary, I guess, because he's extroverted. So just your lower functions, you don't like to use most of the time. Like, if I could, I wouldn't use my introverted thinking a lot of the time. I'm sort of developing it, so... Oh, by the way, Cindy and I are both INFJs, if you haven't heard that. But, yeah, there most of the time, I don't want to use my introverted thinking. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I feel like it. But most of the time, that's why they call you, like, NIFE as an INFJ, is because those are your main 2 functions that you're going to be using most of the time. And so, for TESI...
If you use a thinking function, you're going to go to TI, basically.
Yeah, for us.
Wow, I must be lagging a lot.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You went silent for a second, so I was like, I hope she's not saying anything.
Anyways.
Yeah, so... Anyway, Fitz was refusing to use his open-mindedness function, I guess. He probably hasn't developed it very much, because they are kind of young. And you don't really develop your 3rd function until usually, late teens, sometimes older, in your young adulthood. So I feel like he probably just hasn't... Maybe his journey for the series will be developing that sort of ability to see other possibilities and to kind of hear... to hear things and not be so stubborn about this is how I want it and this is the way it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of an example where he has been open. I guess the only one I can think of is when in Lodestar, is it Lodestar where he sees what happened with Keith by, eavesdropping on their telepathic thing, and then he's like, wow, I was wrong. You actually went through more than I thought, or something like that.
I don't remember what he says, but yeah, he's just like, I was spying on you, and I was like, dude! But that is a kind of TE dumb thing to do, especially, like, my dad has, he's an INTJ, so he has extroverted thinking as a 2nd function. Extroverted thinkers are very focused on, like, getting stuff done, and it's up, like, they want to try to do everything if they can, but they will delegate
That is
tasks.
so true.
Yeah. So
as
my
a
dad was
TE
100%.
Dom father, with a TE Dom father. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, it's my job, or even if it's not their job, they're just like, I don't have to ask anyone's permission.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he 100%. That I feel like that was a very TE thing to do to jump in on the thing. But yeah, I feel like his journey, especially with having kind of the Vacker legacy torn down, so like the 3 side of him is just like, oh no, my whole social standing is gone. My friends are, so he just broke up with Sophie, so he's gonna sort of, I guess they made up a little bit and unlocked, but he didn't like that. He didn't like that feeling of separation and of it's almost failure for a 3 not being looked up to. And so that's going to be part of his character journey, I think, and he might be in a bit of a down place, like he might be a little bit almost melancholy for the next little bit, but I hope that eventually he can kind of develop the open-minded side of him to be a more healthy elf. Yeah. I wanted to say person, but I don't think that would make much sense. Do they call elves people, or do they call them elves?
I think they try to use elves. Mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, they might randomly use people. I think most of the time Shannon catches it.
They'd say like elven people. Sorry, that was so random. That was a side trail.
Okay.
We're back.
So I guess we should do Keith, and then I want to revisit, or at least somewhat visit, Sophie's Enneagram.
Ooh, let's do Sophie's Enneagram first, because I know what I think, at least for the first few books. I think that she was a 4.
Okay,
and that was
I know we had a whole... Yep, we had a whole conversation about this a while ago. Because I think we were between 4, 6, and 9. Was it?
Yeah. What is that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so that could be a tri-type, too.
Yep.
I wonder if she's like a 964, and she was kind of showing that 4 side a lot more. Is that how it works with Enneagram? Do you devolve through your tri-type?
I don't think so.
Okay, so maybe she was originally
you devolve to whatever. Yeah, so I think so. Jaycie and I had this conversation. Yeah, your stress Enneagram. Had this conversation where we think. I mean, if someone knows more about the Enneagram and can tell us, please tell us. But personally, I think it makes a lot of sense that you would be able to switch Enneagrams because Enneagram is based off of a fear, and by definition, that's not like a cognitive function that you are stuck in. It would be a fear that you can beat. And so, for instance, like Jaycie and I have had this conversation where we think, okay, I used to be an Enneagram this, but that is no longer a fear that affects my life as much. I think I've grown out of that. And so personally, I think someone can tell us if we're doing this completely wrong, but as a child, I think I was a 4. And then when I moved, yes, we went through my diaries. It was hilarious.
Can I say the bit about the crown? The queen thing.
Goodness, no. You can vaguely say that. I was in 3rd and 4th grade, okay?
She was very much low-key as a kid.
I made up, like, these social hierarchies that I wanted to, that I wanted to topple. And I was like, I am the specialist. No one understands me. I will get the crown in this social hierarchy that I made up about my 3rd grade class. But anyways, it was really funny. So, I personally think I was a 4 when I was little. And then, I've noticed it, we're just getting into Sydney's life for a second. It'll be relevant, I promise. But I've noticed when I move, it seems like I switched, or I have switched. So then I think when I moved to where I lived previously, I switched to a 5. And I have diary entries where I very much talk about the 5 fear of, like, the unknown and not having enough knowledge and being capable to do something. But then...
So 5 and 6, then?
Well, no, I was definitely 5.4. Anyways. But through... I mean, we're just going to do... We're Christians, so through church and things like that, I think I've beat that fear. And now, guess what? We're on to the 9 fear. So that's great. Still working on this one. But Jaycie has had a similar experience. Do you want to talk about yours?
Sure. Yeah, I mentioned it in the last episode, then cut it out because it had nothing to do with anything. But I used to be a 2. I kind of mistyped as a 6 because I didn't understand the Enneagram at first, but I was definitely a 2.
Yep. I mistyped as a bunch of things. Anyway.
Basically, once I started whenever I developed FE in Myers-Briggs terms, which was probably around like 11 or 12, I remember it because I was in ballet class and I started like caring what people thought. But that was whenever I was in ballet, I know I was a 2 for sure. A 2 with a strong wing 1, and so it was very like people pleasing and perfectionistic for a while. And then basically my friends had a minor therapy session at 3 a.m. because they were like, "You're going to college, you need to be confident." And it turns out I respond very well to intervention like that because like the next week I went out of town with some of my friends that I would go to college with, or people that I was meeting because I was going to college with them. And over that week, I wasn't thinking about, how I was presenting myself or, like, any of the 2-in-1 things. Like, I didn't care what random people thought of me. I was just like, oh, yeah, I'll just be like me. And then I also kind of let go of all of the weird perfectionistic tendencies in my head. And after that week, I got home and I was like, wait a second. I don't care what people think, and I'm not. And then I was like, oh, so I wonder what I am. And so I spent a while kind of researching it. Like, can you be no Enneagram? Is that a thing? And so eventually, because and then I was like, am I a 5? Because all of a sudden I'm researching everything.
Yeah, and I was like, I see it, but I don't think you're a 5. No. Like, okay, you have the 5 characteristics, but I don't, that you're not afraid of the fear. And you were like, yeah. I don't have the fear, but I act like a 5, and I was like, that means you're not a 5.
And so I kept researching it, and then I was like, well, every time people tell me to do something, I do the exact opposite. And that kind of led me to discover I was an 8, eventually. So I'm an 8 with a strong 7 wing, turns out, and yeah, 5 is just in my tri-type. That was why I was showing so many 5 tendencies. So yeah. By the way, because Sydney, you were talking about not being sure if you could change Enneagram. So there's a lady at my church who's very nice, and she knows the Enneagram really well. And so we were talking about it one day, and I'm not sure if I don't think she's certified, but I think she's like could be certified. Anyway, she is also an 8. But I was telling her that, like, I feel like mine probably changed, but I don't know if that's how it works. And she said that you can change Enneagram, especially if you're younger. It's a lot rare if you're older and, you're kind of already developed and you're already in your personality and you're not, like, that susceptible to change or outside influence. But whenever you're younger in development, and especially up until your brain finishes developing, which I believe is like when you're 24, you're very it's very possible for your Enneagram to change.
Oh goodness, I gotta change again before I'm 24. I don't want to be stuck as a 9.
She is.
I don't like
9,
it very much.
And I really don't like it. Thing. And
I don't know. See, I see 1 and 8, but yeah.
Because you can have both wings kind of equally. I don't have a 9 wing at all. Like, at all. But that's just because I was so down with being a 2 that I was just like, peacemaking. So, I act like an INTJ sometimes. It's funny. But anyway, so that's our background on the Enneagram. So I think that Sophie, like, kind of tied to that, we came up with the idea probably Sophie could have changed, because she's very 4-ish in the early books, but that's because she's
first of all, she's a fictional character, so...
Yeah, so, like, the author can do anything. We'll get to that with Keith, because I have some things. Yeah. But with Sophie, she's coming from an environment where, like, she really was misunderstood, and she really didn't fit in, so that can really foster those feelings of, like, there's something fundamentally wrong with me, which is something that's in the 4's heads. And so I really do feel like she was a 4 for at least the first book. And what was it? It ends with Keith saying, like, you're home, Foster. And she's like, I hate to say it, Keith, but you might be right. And so that might have been the time that she really defeated that core fear of something being wrong with her. And she was like, I am.
Well,
I am
or-
special and unique. Well, she did kind of struggle with that a little bit, but
She struggles with that a lot in Exile,
even in
though.
number 2, you're right. I forgot because she's like, there's something wrong again, and then she kind of wants to be unique, but she doesn't want to be different. Like she doesn't want to be podcast.
Hold on. So Exile, she struggles with being capable.
Instead of
that
5.
couldn't be. Okay,
Maybe that's a win.
let's go through this book by book. Should we?
Yeah.
Not book by book, like reading the books, but, talking about it. I'm going to write this down. Okay, so book 1, she's
very
a 4-wing 5, probably.
Because she didn't care about social status at all. Like, she was willing to go to that smaller college, even though it meant, she wouldn't be well-known. She didn't want to be well-known. She didn't want to be noticed. Definitely a wing 5. Okay,
so book 2, Exile. I'm going to put 4/5, and we can think about that. Okay, book 3. What would we say her struggle is?
In number 3, let's see, she's just healed Alden sort of in the beginning of it, and so they're kind of a discussion around her healing Fenton. She doesn't really want to do that. And then there's also the thing with Keith, something's wrong with him. I'm trying to think of like what happens with Sophie in it. Something is wrong with one of his parents. That's really when she starts developing her extroverted feeling a lot, is book 3.
Yeah.
Is she's worrying about other people.
She may still be.
Because at Kenrick's funeral at his planting, the elven people were like, oh, it's her fault. And then she got escorted out, and then she tried to read King Dimitar's mind herself.
And she gets the ability restrictor.
And so she's like completely... her life is destroyed basically, and then she goes into avoidance. Oh, that's what the avoidance thinks. That maybe that's when she becomes a 9, because she takes the sedatives even though she says she never wants to take them again and is out for like weeks. Remember that? That's
did
a
we
9
say
thing.
for sure she goes to 9? I don't remember if we did.
I see her as a 9 definitely, because like think about in book 6 where she goes into the loop and Keith has to like snap her out of it and be like, okay, we can actually face this. You don't have to avoid it.
If she's a 9, I'm going to be mad, because Keeper probably made me a 9. Just kidding. But, okay, never seen. We were just talking about this, how so many of our book characters that we read when we were little affected us, and we've become like them. It's so interesting. Okay.
So many INFJ characters.
So, let's revisit 2 again, though, because I did say it could be a capability thing. But actually, it might still be a something's wrong with me.
Yeah, because the whole time she's struggling with, I'm broken, I'm malfunctioning. Bron says I'm malfunctioning. Oh, she was so mad about that. Bron's
I'm going to say she's still 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, what about book 4?
Book 4, let's see. She's kind of got her ties with the Lost Cities, and so she's kind of like, okay, I'm not dealing with that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what she does. She goes to Exilium. And she's trying to help other people in Exilium. She's still very 9-ish, though. She's still like, I don't want to cause problems
up until Unlocked, she would be a 9, because then in Unlocked, she's learning how to not do what everybody else wants from her. And she has always, like, ever since she unlocked her inflicting, she has the anger,
and then the
thing, which I relate. Yeah.
I just realized something. In book 8, how avoidant she is with Fitz. She won't come around him the whole book. By the way, the thing about 9s is they're very avoidant of anything that's conflict causing. Think about her with Fitz. Like how every time she like hears it, she's just like, we'll put that away for later. And then she can't even look at him
even
when he's
earlier.
Around.
Yeah, even earlier than that, whenever anyone brings up anything to do with crushes, she's like, I don't know about that. Keep group harmony. Keep it together.
And let's see. And the other thing. With her parents in number 8.
Angry.
How avoidant she is about her whenever she finds out Orlean, like, it causes that whole conflict, then she's just like, never doing that again.
Yeah. You're so right. She's such an INFJ 9.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That was, okay. And then Unlocked, let's see. She's not as avoidant.
And just like her whole... Yeah. Well, she's growing in Unlocked, is what I mean. Because in Unlocked, she learns to, she doesn't read the group. She does what she wants to. Mm-hmm. And then, the group gets mad at her for it. You know what I'm talking about? When she sets things on fire. Yeah, and she has to learn to...
Is she becoming an 8?
Well, not exactly becoming an 8, but growing as a 9.
Developing
for now.
Her wing, her 8 wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Being an 8 is
okay,
fun.
so we're going to say Sophie is a 4/9 because she changes as she grows older.
All right. Okay. I'm going to pause the
recording. That makes a lot of sense. But we shouldn't go through that specifically.
Okay, recording is on. Yeah.
Cool.
I agree. So Keith is the next one to do. For Myers-Briggs. We'll do Myers-Briggs first and then Enneagram. So here are the 3 types that we've kind of been between. So last time we recorded an episode, we said ENFP. Mm-hmm. And then after a little bit, we started talking about it, not on the podcast. We might have brought it up, but we were like, no, we think he's ESFP. We think he's an extroverted sensing dom, not an any dom. And so it's kind of been between that and my head for a while. And so I looked up on the personality database site, which it's basically a site where it has a bunch of fictional characters and some real life actors and stuff, and it's voting, so everyone can vote on what they think the type is. And so on that, it's a 50-50 split between ENFP and ENTP. And I had actually come up with that on my own whenever I was trying to figure out ESFP or ENFP. I was like, wait, depending on the book, these both make sense. And so here's what I think. Well, first, I'm going to say this first, and then we'll bring up something else. That's kind of a, what's the word, a determiner. So book 1.
Okay.
Book 1, Sophie finds him, and he's ditching class. So what were you going to say?
You guys should know that for a while we were on ESFP, and I have not heard anything since ESFP, and so everything you guys are hearing is also new to me, because we had this whole conversation over text where we were like, wait, this is ESFP, isn't it? But then we changed. Now Jaycie's like, so I don't know any of this either. After we switched to ESFP, it was never discussed.
Right. I actually, I think I made Karis listen to this whole rant. So that was fun. Because she is an ESFP. And ESFPs don't like what we call intuitive talk, which is stuff like this, theoretical discussions. They're like, I am so bored. So, in book 1, she finds him ditching class, and then he he's very sort of charismatic with Alwyn, which led a lot of people to say extroverted intuitive, but extroverted sensors can be the same way. And then after that, he takes her back to class, and he's not really, he doesn't really come into the book a lot, but whenever he does, he's very, he's definitely either a NE or SE dom. He's very,
he's
crazy.
Attentive, he's, out there,
Oh, he's not attentive, he's all over the place.
Well, I mean, attentive to everything around him.
Well, and, he has something that could either be called high intuition or high sensing. I don't really know what it is, but he's catching on to patterns with Sophie. He's, also, because of his empathy, he seems a little extroverted feeling, which is why I think that he has so many ENTP votes in personality database.
Okay, the more you say ENTP,
the more you can see it.
It's starting to make sense.
Yeah, because Shannon models all of their personalities a little bit after their special abilities, which is why, Orly's INFJ, because she has high FE. Sophie has all these abilities, but it's really important that she has NI to use her telepathy with. Now, Keith, in book 2, he's so ENTP the whole book. There's no other argument. He's so, if you go back and read that after reading, Unlocked, he's so just, I don't even know. He feels very different. He's very, all over the place. Almost flippant is the word that keeps coming to mind. And it's not flippant I don't care, but it's flippant just joking every other sentence. You can't tell sometimes if he's being serious or not. just a lot of random things. And I just met an ENTP, and that's sort of similar to how they, actually I've met two. That's sort of similar to how they talk, and like you don't know what Keith's gonna do in book 2. He's just like, he randomly, what is it that he like throws sand at Sophie for some reason, and they chase each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so random, and it's such an Innie and I thing. And then Everblaze, let's see, what would that loop be? So for an ENFP, the loop they go into under stress is an introverted feeling, introverted sensing loop. The loop an ENTP goes to under stress is an introverted thinking, introverted sensing loop.
Wait, hold on. Isn't your loop your first function and your third function?
It depends. So what I've noticed, especially in Karis, and this might not be true of all extroverts, but what I've noticed in Karis is she goes to an introverted function loop whenever she's under stress. Because she gets quiet and literally acts like an INTJ. It's scary. Like, I can always tell whenever she's depressed at work because she goes to like that, and everyone's like, Karis, you're so quiet. And I'm like,
that's pretty consistent for ESFPs. I agree. Yeah.
And is Kylie that way? That would be introverted thinking and introverted intuition.
Yeah, so that was
the same loop as you
too. Yeah, that's accurate for Kylie.
So I think we just go to our introverted loops because that's how you process. Everyone processes with their introverted loops. Your extroverted functions are what you show other people. So I think that for an ENFP going to that FISI loop, Keith doesn't get feely exactly whenever he learns that one of his parents could be... And let me look this up, but I'm pretty sure he says something like, there's no logical holes in this, Sophie. It has to be the case. Which is such an ENTP over ENFP thing to say.
Yeah.
Let me try to find if I have the Kindle app on my phone.
ENFP is T.
Extroverted thinking.
The ENFP functions. Yeah, extroverted thinking.
And then introverted sensing.
Yep. Okay.
ENTP is a NEFE, and then TISI.
Okay. So ENFP and ENTP have the same... No, they don't, because TIFI. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
ESFP has SEFI.
TENI.
TENI. Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Could you still make the loop that it's in... Wait, could you make the argument that it's FINI?
It's not FI, it's TI. If I'm right, remembering that phrase correctly, and I'm trying to pull up the Kindle app, I'm downloading it. But if I'm remembering the phrase right, he's like, this is just the logical conclusion, Sophie. Like, there's no holes in the logic. One of my parents has to be evil. And he actually jumps to the conclusion that it's his dad at first. Because he's kind of gone to SI and that past... One thing that SI is, it's like past data and collection of past data. And that's something that's actually really notable of Keith, is he's very good at recalling past data. And it's, he does have a photographic memory, but he's also, somebody like ran into the door that I'm sitting behind. I feel like, again, Shannon sort of models abilities, off of their personality a little bit. And that might have been said in the series, actually, like, your personality and ability will influence each other in certain ways or something. They're going to sort of be correlated.
Sounds familiar.
So I feel like that could explain that and figure out introverted sensing. Okay,
I see what you're saying, but the logical possibility sounds like something in ESFP I would know would it also say.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% buying it.
Okay.
That it's a ENTP thing.
Mm-hmm. Karis wouldn't, but the ESFPs we know are kind of different.
Mm-hmm. Well, would Karis say... I mean, again, sorry guys, we're talking about people we know. But I think it's part of their stubbornness. Okay, find the quote because that might help.
Which quote? Oh, the quote in Everblaze that we're talking about. It's still loading, but let me see if I can speed it up. Because it's trying to download with data at the moment. Let's use Wi-Fi. That's going to be faster. Let me think about Never Seen while we wait. So, in Never Seen, he does have a major loop. But the question is, what exactly is the loop? all of it is him writing down on sticky notes his memories, which is completely introverted sensing.
Is it a loop, or is it going to stress functions?
I see it as a loop.
I feel like last time we discussed this, we said he went to stress functions.
By stress, you mean shadow, right?
Shadow, yes, sorry.
Okay, and by the way, for shadow functions, guys, this just, you can look it up and see, like, a chart of it, but it's just the opposite of what your normal functions are in order. So let's say that you are an ESFP. Your first shadow function would be introverted sensing, since your normal dominant function would be extroverted sensing. And then each shadow function works in different ways, but generally your first shadow you can be pretty good at, and you kind of respect it when you see it in other people. For an INFJ, the opposite shadow would be extroverted intuition. So we go to that in stress, and we also respect it in other people, sort of like an idea generator thing. We're like, wow, how do you do that? Your second shadow you'll sort of see as childish. It's called the critical parent function. So for an INFJ, that's introverted feeling. And we're like, that's childish and stubborn and inconsiderate. And then an ESFP would see extroverted feeling and say that's childish and shallow and fake. Your third shadow function, you see just as kind of annoying and short-sighted. So for us, that's extroverted thinking. At least for me, Sydney, you can confirm if this is right, because this is kind of theoretical. But for extroverted thinking, when people use it, I'm like, you're not using all of the logic to reason it out. You're just saying this one thing and then automatically assuming it's true. That's just short-sighted and shallow. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And then an INTJ who has a tertiary introverted feeling would say that about extroverted feeling. They'd be like, well, that's short-sighted and shallow. Or an ESFP, because I was using them a lot, would see introverted thinking and be like, why are you doing that? That's wasting time. It's short-sighted, shallow. Actually, no. Yeah, that would be their shadow. Yeah. And then your last one is, or for an INFJ, the last one is introverted sensing. And at least for me, I sort of see it as just like torture. Like how do you remember all of that? Why are you forcing yourself to remember all of this data? Or if it's like, you know, the planning and going day by day of the same schedule, like every morning I wake up and eat half a cup of oatmeal, and then for lunch I eat this chicken, and then for dinner I eat this salmon, and I do that every day, day after day after day for a month. And I would be like driven insane by the third day, maybe the second. And it's just like, at least for me, I cannot do introverted sensing. I can't do small data, remember, like, you know, in history when you had to memorize dates, could not do that for the life of me.
Oh.
And so I see introverted sensing as torture. And this isn't necessarily true, but usually that last shadow, like, you just can't comprehend how people use that. Whenever you see someone using it, you're like, what? And so, like, for my sister, that would be extroverted intuition. And so with extroverted intuition, she's like, how do you have energeticness and all of this, like, hyper extrovertedness and then it still be intuitive? I don't understand that. Like, how? Or for my dad, that last shadow function would be, what is he? It would be introverted sensing, just like me. And he's the same way. So, that's kind of a basic explanation. And shadow functions are a lot more theoretical, so you can't base everything off of them. But I think if it's kind of a sure enough pattern in someone where it works, especially in fictional characters, you know, it's all a little bit less solid. But if it works with every single shadow function and it really, really makes sense for them, then I think you can use it. Like, I would use shadow functions for Loki.
Here's what we're doing. We are going to Never Seen. I have decided, and we're going to find where Keith is, because this is what originally made us say ESFP, but we're going to think about it through the shadow functions and the other functions and see him under stress. So, let me find.
And guess what? I just got Everblaze open.
Oh,
it's telling me it's not available. I'm so mad. Okay, hold on. I'm going to keep messing around with this.
Okay. You want to pause the recording?
Sure.
Okay,
you go first. I found the Everblaze thing. It's after they've already met with Mr. Forkle, and Keith calls her. A vibration in her pocket made her jump, and her stomach turned sour as she pulled out her imparter. Swan song, Keith whispered, not quite looking at her. She knew it was lame, but she had to tell him, I'm sorry. Don't be. In fact, it almost makes sense. I finally understand everything I've ever felt about my life. I mean, it still stinks, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now. No one can hear you, right? No, they left me a note. Apparently my mom wanted to go to some fancy restaurant in Atlantis, so he took her and they're still not back. Guess I shouldn't be surprised they weren't sitting at home worrying about me anymore. Please don't say you're sorry again. It makes me want to smash things, and not because I'm mad at you. That's extroverted feeling. And not because I'm mad at you, he added. It's just, I don't want you to be sorry because one of the people who tried to kill you just so happens to be my dad. Every time I think about it, I want to fling goblin throwing stars at all his favorite things, which again would be pretty hard to explain. Then don't think about it. I won't. I'm going to go drink a couple cups of slumberberry tea and hope it knocks me out until the plan is ready. That's not dangerous, right? Half a smile curled his lips. Nope, it's just tea. My mom makes my dad at least 3 cups a night. I guess now I know why he has trouble sleeping. Sophie bit her lip. I'll hail you as soon as I hear from the Black Swan. Thanks. Oh, and Sophie? Yeah? She asked, surprised he was using her first name. Please don't hate me, okay? Keith, I will never hate you. But no buts. In fact, I remember a pretty smart person telling me that our families don't get to decide who we are. And that goes one step farther. Our parents don't make us who we are either. Look at how much you've rebelled against your dad. Deep down, you've always known you didn't want to be him. Now you finally know why. Yeah, I guess, he mumbled, rubbing his eyes, either from tears or exhaustion. Sophie couldn't tell which. She hoped it was the latter and told him, get some sleep. He nodded and clicked away. He just seems so FE, and it could be only because of his empathy, but I can't think of a single example of introverted feeling from him.
Okay.
Alright, read your things from Never Seen.
Hold on, I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because I agree with you that I can't think of an example of introverted feeling. My brain says, well, Claire can be like that example where he just said, the ENFP I know, sometimes she'll be like, oh, and it's not because of this, don't worry about that. But maybe less naturally? I don't know. Okay, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
So, I was looking for different times where Keith is moody. So, let me see. Which one should I read? Okay.
Whichever is the first one.
Do you want me to read this? Okay.
Sure.
So, okay, Keith said, taking Sophie's hands again. You have to tell me what my mom's done. Do you want me to talk to him? Fitz transmitted. Sophie shook her head. Keith was asking her. So then she pulls Keith to a tree, and he says, if she killed someone, just tell me, Keith whispered. She holds his hand, tells him everything, and it says, Keith stared blankly at the river. What are you thinking? Sophie asked when the silence turned suffocating. Strange question coming from a telepath. Okay, so that was a dodge. You know I would never invade your privacy like that. Keith sighed. I'm thinking she deserves to be dead. His voice meant the words, but his eyes didn't. It's okay to be sad, Keith.
Can I interject something really quick?
Mm-hmm.
The dodge thing is more of an NE than a SE thing. At least in my experience.
I don't know.
In my experience with a SE sister, and then I haven't known a lot of NEs, but I know 2. And the NEs are much more likely to dodge than the SEs. Keep going, though. Because that might be a stereotype, so it might not be 100% the case.
Hold on, I want to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you might be right.
And Makala,
Maybe.
Her second function is Extroverted Intuition. She's pretty likely to dodge. Karis, no, she's just going to tell you what she thinks. That's FI. Makala's FI too, but she'll dodge. So go ahead.
No, SE will dodge sometimes. I'm trying to compare. Okay. It's okay to be sad, Keith. No, it's not. Not after what she's done. She's still your mom, no matter how angry you are. I'm more than angry, Sophie. I don't know what the word is, but I don't care what happens to her. Then why are you crying? She reached up to wipe his cheek and showed him the tear on her finger. Okay, so then he is upset about stuff. Do you want me to leave you alone? Sophie asked. Keith nodded. Actually, no. It's not good for me to be alone right now. I'll do something stupid. I don't know what I need. Just don't go. So, that's interesting. Okay, let me see what the next one I have is.
I feel like,
I think that's
the I don't know what I'm feeling thing. Again, it's a lot of FE proof. A lot.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, of course, even FIs might need to process for a second, but that's really something that, as like an extroverted feeler, a lot of the time I'm just like, I don't know, that's information. And like, I know the response I should have, and so like I have a word response, but I also don't.
Okay, this could be completely off. Just hear me out. What about ESTP?
There's not a lot of discussion about that, because an ESTP is a lot more, I'm trying to explain the difference in vibe between ESTP and ENTP.
Yeah, I understand the difference in vibe. I'm trying to understand the difference in cognitive functions. I knew someone I thought was an ESTP, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Thor
so that would be
ESTP.
It would be SETI.
FENI.
FENI.
Basically,
I'm writing all of these down.
They're like an ESFP, but they are less feely, which sounds obvious, but like, basically, okay.
Yeah, I understand in concept. Yeah, but what makes an ESTP that much less feely than an ENTP?
They're not less feely than an ENTP. They're just less intuitive. So an ESTP, they're going to be more like, let me just pick up this one idea, run with this one idea until it doesn't work, and then, that didn't work. Okay, we gotta come up with a new idea. Like, think of, I'm just gonna, like, use the one example I have, which is Thor. Whenever he got thrown onto Earth, and he was like, the hammer, and he just, the
Marvel
whole thing
spoilers warning.
Yeah, it's not that important. But yeah, if you haven't watched the first Thor movie, skip ahead a little bit. But he, whenever, he was just like, I have to get the hammer. And then when that didn't work, he was just like, well, that's it for me. And then he was just like out for it. While an ENTP would be like, okay, mental challenge. Okay, that didn't. Okay, if this doesn't work, here are like 6 other possible ideas, and I'm gonna make sure that I outsmart these people. And he feels more ENTP because he's more like, with his pranks.
He's more random. Yeah.
Yeah, he's more like, I'm gonna try to outsmart these people. He's in ESTP versus ENTP. It's pretty clearly that he's ENTP because he's definitely more of like. These are the possibilities. And this is he thinks through things. While an ESTP
I agree, especially vibe-wise. He doesn't vibe as an ESTP, but I just wanted to.
It is kind of important to like bring that up, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were
okay. Let me find serial killer. I hope they don't flag me for saying that.
Apple doesn't like keyword search us.
I found it. Okay. So, serial killer key time. So, she walks in the room. She says, I'm not leaving until you talk to me. Then she ducks under his arm and sneaks into the room. So, 3 of his 4 walls had been covered floor to ceiling on scribbled on pieces of paper, like something a serial killer would do. More notes were scattered on the floor, his desk, the bed. Okay, so I know you said his loop would be, what was it? TISI? Oh.
Yeah, an ENTP is TISI, so past details and then logical conclusions.
Okay.
It's not feely or, like, morose and self-pitying. It's like, because an SI-FI loop is like, I'm, especially, or let's do NI-FI, which is what my sister has. That would be the ESFP loop. The ESFP loop is like, oh my goodness, I'm so scared and nervous. Oh my goodness. Because NI is, looking at future events. So, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous about what's going to happen. And I feel so bad about this myself. And oh my goodness, I'm just, this is going to go so badly.
So
if he was an NI loop, he would be... Sorry?
Okay, the funny thing is, last time we discussed this, we said it made, because of some other stuff, we said it was that NI made sense because it was putting together pieces after the fact.
Yeah,
last time
we also didn't really understand Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, we also didn't.
So the real distinction between SI and NI, especially in loop form, is NI is looking at the future and SI is looking at the past. So NI is like, if Keith was NI, he wouldn't be looking at past. He would be like, okay, this is what's the problems that are gonna cause in the future with my mom being on the never seen. It's gonna be this and this and this. Oh my goodness, I'm so scared and feely. And then back to this is the event that's gonna happen, and then this is the event that's gonna happen. Then what if this happens? Like my sister, for example, had to talk to a manager at work one time, and went to she explained to me her entire mental process later. And, under stress, I just go extroverted sensing, so I just wing it. So I just forget it, turn off my thoughts, and wing it. Under stress, she overthought herself into a loop and was silent. And I actually had to talk to the manager for her. It was kind of funny. But
so you're saying under stress, ESFPs go into...
future mode. They turn into an INTJ.
Future... The ESFP I know doesn't do that. At all.
Was he under
whatsoever.
stress?
He is SI.
What? Was he under stress then?
I don't know how to explain it. NISI.
That's weird. Wait, NISI. What's the mental, what are the thoughts there?
Okay. The ESFP I know goes to, let me put together pieces after the fact.
So putting together pieces after the fact, so, I'm going to try to explain. So, if there's, an actual event, so SI is just data collection, right, and looking at the past, and then in terms of what you can do with SI in the moment, it's just sort of a repetition or, a routine. So, an ISFJ or INTJ who is an SI dominant, they're going to be very good at sticking to schedules and routines.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
No, an ISFJ or an ISTJ. Those two are the SI
Oh, you said INTJ, and I was like,
Oh, sorry, ISTJ.
You're good.
They're SI doms, and so they're going to be very, I'm sticking with past routines, and then they're very good with repetition, memorization, and observation of small details, and then remembering those. But that is, all introverted sensing and how that's used. Introverted intuition and extroverted intuition can both put pieces together after the fact, especially if introverted intuition is lower down. But an introverted intuition loop is going to be looking at the future. It's not a loop if you're just noticing the way something can be put together. That's just your inferior NI existing. If it's an active loop where you're actively, despairing about something, it's going to be you cycling through, looking through possibilities of how something could go wrong in the future based on this information that you're overthinking.
Okay, here's what I'm confused about. I think we're focusing on loops too much because you have loops and then you have stress, or you go... Or the way I understood it is, number one, you go to your last function. So we would go to SE, and that means ESFP would go to NI, ENTP would go to SI, all of that. Then I understood that you would go to the loop. So for us, it's NITI, and I have always heard that it's your first and your third function that loops. And then I heard that you go to shadow functions. And so I guess I'm confused about why we're focusing so much on loops when it could be a last function or a shadow function thing. And I think we have to figure out more of why.
So it can be different. A loop happens whenever you're processing information. Whenever you use your shadow function or your stress function. So for an INFJ, I'm just going to use an example for an INFJ for me. So, if I get a ton of information and I have to process it, that's going to be an NITI loop, where I'm thinking through the logical, what this means for each thing, the logical details, and whether it all works together, and then I'm going to use NI to be okay, so how does this affect things going forward? So that's kind of what an NITI loop is like for me, and that's whenever I'm processing information. But if I'm going to extroverted sensing, you can't process anything in extroverted sensing.
Yeah.
Extroverted sensing for me is turn off overthinking and just act right now because I don't have time to think. And so that's not something I like to do at all, because I feel like it's not a good, smart way to live your life.
Yep.
Especially whenever it's underdeveloped, you know, in the case of an INFJ. So, that would be, Keith is processing and never seen. He's not just turning it off and going to the last function. And I imagine it's very similar for an extrovert. I'm trying to think exactly of how it would work. Because for an extrovert, they go to an introverted loop.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they can't just go to shut off thinking. Because for them, it is an introverted function last. And so their last function is either, we're between SI and NI.
So for like an ESFP, for Karis, whenever she has to just act in the moment, that's fine for her, because it's how she already likes to do stuff. She doesn't like to be processing information. So under stress, if she just had to act, that would just be her SETE, and that's completely comfortable for her. Like, she'd be more comfortable not overthinking. And so that's something you won't see ESFPs going to loops very often, because they don't like doing that at all. They like using SEFI
that would
or
apply,
SETE.
And that would also apply to ENTP and ENFP. Okay.
Yeah.
We're just talking in circles.
In terms of shadow functions, that's something that you just barely will just use in moments of stress, or if you're, you know, talking to someone with a shadow function and you have extroverted feeling, you might mirror it. So, like, for an INFJ, if we have an NE user with us, we might mirror their NE back to them, but that's just because of our extroverted feeling. Generally, we're only going to use extroverted intuition under, like, really, really deep stress. So if you're forced to socialize for really long periods of time, and you've completely shut off your overthinking because you're just, you know, forced to keep socializing and keep trying to be the extrovert in the group, sort of, that's whenever I use my extroverted intuition and I just start scatterbrained because I have no social energy left. So that's how I use
So you think he's
functions.
ENTP, correct?
That's, yeah. And I thought I was going to be leaning ENFP, but I don't see FI for him at all.
Okay. Argue to me how he is using his TISI loop here.
So in Never Seen, well, first of all, SI is data, so it's all of these memories that he's writing out, and what he's doing is a lot of those are questions too, like, so what does this mean then? So what were one of the questions? Do you have that scene still open?
Yes, I do. First day, Foxfire, where was she? Level 4 midterm gift, reason. Why did she make them test me twice to see if I'd manifested as a conjurer? Dad's missing blue pathfinder. Was it her? Where did she go? There's more if you want.
That second one that you said, the reason for what?
Level 4 midterm gift.
Level 4 midterm gift. That just seems very, just that sentence, level 4 midterm gift, what was the reason behind that? That's a TI, at least in my mind, a description of like a TI-SI loop, so a memory
it's not
of,
TE,
like, a
that's
small
for
detail.
sure.
Yeah, and then like, what was the logical reasoning behind that? Which is kind of a TI thing. So a lot of the reason that he's making the sticky notes and going through all of these memories, he's like, what's the logical reason behind that? He's not trying to look at what's the implications going forward, but just what was his mom's reason for everything that she did. He's questioning the reasoning behind everything that she's ever done, and he's like, you can't trust any of it anymore.
Okay. I'm seeing ENTP more and more. Still.
Me too, and I didn't think I was going to be arguing for this at all.
Yeah. Okay. Should we try and think of FI examples?
Yeah.
Just in case?
Can you think of any?
So, okay, what would be an FI example? Like how have we
general?
typed other... Yeah.
I don't know we have...
I live with 3 extroverted feelers and 1 young...
I'm the only extroverted feeler in my family. It's torture. Okay. So I see... Well, Tristan, the 6-year-old, he gives me ENTP vibes, so that's a possibility. He's fun. He is a little soul rebel. Anyway, we did type Wiley hilarious. As an INFP because he was kind of, he doesn't come in much, but he gives INFP vibes, I guess you could say. And you can't really type based off of vibes, but we did, so, yeah.
Yeah,
but it was
okay.
because of how he sort of confronts Sophie. What were you gonna say?
Because I remember the first time we typed him as ENFP, I said, oh, he's like Claire because they're both random.
Yeah.
So I totally just did it based off of NE. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then they're different in the FI versus FE work.
Yeah. I feel like he's not confrontational. Even in, like, Lodestar, when he, does that betrayal thing, he's like, Sophie, I know this is going to make you hate me, and I'm so sorry, and I can't ever forgive myself for this, and I know you can't ever forgive me for it. Like, that's such just an FE ramble, and that makes so much sense, because he is an empath, and so other people's emotions really would affect him, and he would really, like, have to learn to deal with that, to deal with having... But he's more of a FE tertiary than, he's like, this will offend people, LOL. Do you remember that?
I guess what I can't connect is that ENTPs seem, okay, the ENTP from what I've seen and heard of him, the ENTP I know, they're always looking for reasoning and, like, dive deep immediately. Keith seems to stay surface level and almost appear like an ESFP. So that's what I'm confused about, is I can reconcile why he has FE in the function stack, but I can't reconcile.
So here's the thing. I actually know 2 ENTPs, and one of them is totally random. Like, I haven't seen her use introverted thinking very much. She's definitely, like, she's unquestionably not an ENFP, but she's very much, I don't know, she's more randomy. And it might be just because, like, I mean, in Keeper, they don't have a lot of time to discuss philosophical things, but whenever he does, you do see him, like, in Legacy, sit down with her, and he's like, okay, possibilities, so let's list out the logical implications of this, and what this could mean. And then, that sort of freaks her out, and then he's like, oh no, Effie, calm down, it's okay. I
found another spider.
We don't know for sure.
I'm kind of worried at this point.
And he even goes,
the third one I found.
Are you okay, Sydney?
Yeah.
One day you're gonna just, like, become Spider-Man. We're just gonna go with it.
I'm a little worried. That's the third one I've seen. I'm in my closet. Anyway.
Nice. A closet filled with spiders in a laundry room.
It's a very bright closet and a gigantic closet, but, Anyway.
So, in Legacy, whenever she's going through her parent possibilities, that's a scene that I kept revisiting because I was like, it felt so, like,
let's
natural.
go there.
Keith didn't feel off at all. Are you okay? What was that?
That was me dropping my book to pick up Legacy.
I thought you were, like, smashing a spider, and I was like, oh boy.
Oh no, you're okay.
Yeah, see if you can get that
Where
open, because I
is
don't
that
have that
scene?
book.
Okay, do we know what part of the book it's in? I think it's, like, mid...
It's near the beginning, right?
Oh, found it, I think.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah, okay.
See if you can find a little conversation in there.
Keith is so sweet. I want a Keith. Anyway. Wait, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay. Oh, no. It's earlier than this.
I got 20
okay.
Stuck in my head.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. So.
Have you found this scene?
I have. I'm just trying to find an interesting part.
Another thing is
okay,
very
so let's
concerned
just
with
start.
External perception, which I don't know any ENFP. Like, I don't know any ENFPs. So you'll have to tell me, are they really concerned with external like, the first thing whenever she walks in the room is like, oh, I don't have a shirt on. While, like, I feel like an ESFP would just be like, ah, well. And an ENFP, I don't know.
What do you mean by external perception?
Like, literally, like, how they're perceived externally. Because what I mean by that, like, is physically. Sophie walked in and he was like, I don't have a shirt on. Yeet. Like, he panicked. While I feel like an ESFP would be like, oh, well, deal with it.
Huh. I don't know if that's a sign of any.
I meant FE. Over
Oh.
Though we've already proven that, but like that's just a random thing.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's. I'm thinking
It's just
maybe
being
I don't
a
know.
little precious child.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, so here's okay. I have to ask. How do you feel about bending the rules of telepathy a little? You mean breaking the rules of telepathy? Sophie corrected. He shrugged. I'm just saying, I'm pretty positive that you and Fitzy could solve this thing in 5 minutes if you went all cognate roar on Forkel's memories.
Cognate roar?
Okay, so he's like, I know.
That's definitely just throwing out a possibility.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or, playing devil's advocate, is it NI saying, okay, this is how we can solve it. Okay.
But not inferior. Like, an ESFP would just be like, we're not even theorizing. Right. We're just going to go do something. Come on. They have TE, and ESFP is TE. Like, that really affects their style.
Okay. So then he says, I kind of love that I have to explain this to you. So he's explaining something to her about Foxfire.
Which is what?
And then he comes up with the idea to slip sedatives in Forkel's lunch.
He's really being in it.
And then he keeps going with it. Yeah. She's like, I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but it'd be icky. Icky? Ro repeated. Sophie nodded. Keith and I both know how it feels to have someone invade our minds and mess with our memories.
This is something I hear a lot. It's like from NI users with an NE friend that literally how they work together is that any person, I've heard this from you and other people, that any person just throws out possibilities and NI is like, let's think about it.
Yes. Okay, I see it 100% in this scene. It's just this one scene. It's got, okay. I guess
he's
he does
like
have
that in Exile too. You haven't reread
Exile
he is
much,
like that. He's a lot like that in Exile.
Yeah, you're right. Because this is definitely... I might have mentioned this before, and hey, Claire, if you ever listen to this, I doubt you will, but we had this time where we were talking about Sophie's biological parent theories, Claire and I, the ENFP knower, and she was like... just going straight from theory to theory to theory, and I couldn't even tell her that one would not work before she was on to the next theory. It was so funny. She was like, oh, what about King Dimitar? And I was like, Claire, no, let me tell you why that won't work. And she was like, oh, but wait, what about? And I was like, Claire, please let me go back and explain to you why it's not Dimitar before you move on.
And that's such like because an ENTP would be like, okay, so let's debate why this might be wrong. And then they'd be like, as soon as that one's disproven, they bring up the next one. But an ENTP does have introverted thinking to stay there for a second and actually think about the logical proof, while an ENFP is just like, TE, next possibility.
She was literally just like, oh, that would be so cute. What about this one? Like, every father we came up with, she was like, oh, but that would be awful. Oh, but that would be great. Oh, that would be so sweet. And like, it's like, Claire, can we decide who it is?
Oh my goodness.
It was very funny.
But Keith does seem to process these things. He does seem to use introverted thinking a little bit with her. Like, okay, so what does this mean?
The only... okay.
Because, like, even with the Forkel, it sounded like, I don't have Legacy open in front of me, but it sounded like with the Forkel slipping a sedative in his drink. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was even like, okay, so then, she was like, that would be icky, and he's like, okay, but how? Like, the TI behind it.
He totally seems ENTP in this scene. I guess...
You went out for a second.
An ESFP acting this... Oh, okay. Oops.
I heard he totally acts ENTP in this scene, and then it went out.
Yeah. The one thing that there was ESFP acting this way, it would be forced, I guess.
You said if an ESFP acted that way, it would be forced?
Yeah. I could see it, but it would be forced.
Mm-hmm. While this scene did really seem natural. It seemed like natural Key Foster.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And even in, like, the first and second books, whenever he's the kid ditching class and always trying to, like, prove their teachers wrong and all of that, it's really a stereotype ENTP.
Stereotype?
Sorry, what'd you
He
say?
fits the stereotype of...
Mm-hmm.
I said he fits the stereotype, and then I just said he... Yeah. Okay. ENFP is off the table at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's ENTP. Yeah.
I see it. Like, I see it.
Something
more
says...
than- Something says what?
But there's some clicking in my mind.
The Wi-Fi's breaking out so much. You said something says what?
Oh, no. I said, I see it, but something is not clicking in my mind.
Mm. Is it just the lack of introverted thinking? Like the lower down?
Maybe.
It might just be a
Wait,
little
what do you mean?
underdeveloped. So he might just have overdeveloped FE for an ENTP because of his ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because the
That could
ENTP,
be
you know,
possible.
does have super developed TI, right? Like to the point where you thought she was a TI Dom.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I know two,
Yeah.
one with more developed TI and one with more developed NE. Neither of them have super developed FE, just like normal FE for an ENTP. And I could see Keith either way.
Yeah.
Because it is a range. Like
And
every
I guess-
ENTP has a different developed function and a litlittle bit of a different, you know, Enneagram or whatever.
Yeah. Should we talk about his Enneagram real quick?
Yeah, that might clarify things. Because it's about so for the Enneagram we would have to think about like his core fear. And what would that be?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go through and say what he's not. He's not a 1.
Mm-hmm.
He could be a 2. He's could be a 3. I don't think he's a 4.
I don't think he's a 3 exactly because it's concerned with like society.
Okay, we'll come back to that one.
Mm-hmm. We'll put that as
Because
like a
3
question
is
mark.
also about... Yeah, because 3 is about your worth, too. It doesn't necessarily mean society. Okay. He's not a 5.
Definitely not.
He's not a... could he be a 6?
Possibly. He doesn't want to
Okay,
be
I'm writing down.
abandoned, but I don't necessarily know if he is a 6 because of that.
It could be a tri-type thing. Okay. Could he be a 7? He could be a 7.
Because 7s are
he's not
afraid
an
of...
8. He's not a 9, is he?
What are the childhood wounds again?
Okay. Look up the childhood wounds. I'll do
Yeah,
it
and
too.
this one thing I've noticed is that the childhood wounds aren't exactly accurate. They might apply in some way, but like I'm an 8, but I'm an 8 because I switched from a 2 to an 8. So the 8 like childhood backstory doesn't really apply to me because I literally just switched and it was based off of, you know, not being a 2, like not liking the qualities of being a 2 in myself. And so it's more of like a, I don't know. It's different.
Yeah. Okay, I found a page of childhood wounds.
Me too.
Do you want me to read them?
Yeah.
Okay. We can go back and forth. So, what we have is 2, 3, 6, and 7. So, we can just read those.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you want to do the
So, I'll read... Yep. I'll say, okay. These children felt loved only if they were helping or pleasing others. Their personal needs felt selfish. As a result, they closed off their own needs and feelings and turned to those of others. Love became defined as giving to others, though the love often didn't feel received or reciprocated. Okay, your turn.
I don't feel like he's a 2 based off of that.
It could be a tri-type thing, but I don't feel like it either.
And 2 might be in his tri-type, but as a former 2, I can say he doesn't give 2 vibes. So for 3, as children, 3s felt deeply connected to the nurturing figure in their life. This could have been the mother or father, depending on the home. They learned to intuit the nurturing parent's needs before they were expressly stated and strived to meet those needs. They sensed that they were loved or valued for what they achieved rather than who they were. When they received a look of approval, they basked in it and worked hard to gain that look of approval again. Unlike the 2, who tried to gain approval through being needed or nurturing, 3s gained approval by achieving goals, success, and benchmarks. That's a little more accurate because I feel like he would do anything to get his parents to recognize him and love him.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily
And I know a
if he's
3.
Well, I know an ENTP 3, and this isn't exactly accurate for both of them.
I know an INTP 3, and it's 100% accurate.
Well, I know the ENTP 3 this applies to 100%, but I don't know if it applies to Keith the same way, basically. So what's the other one that we said he might be?
6 and 7.
Okay.
So
you
I'll
wanna
do 6. Yep.
And sorry, guys, if
these
there's if there's talking in the background of my recording, my siblings are being told to do their chores. So go ahead. I'm going to mute my side while you go so it's not distracting.
Okay. These children were raised in an unpredictable situation with no safe place to go. They lost faith that they would ever be protected. As such, they turned to their own inner defense of doubting, disbelieving reality, and rejecting their own instincts/inner guidance. Okay. I think he's a 3.
Really accurate.
Wait, really?
The 6
You
is
think
closer.
so?
He was, and listen to the 7 one. This one, I read the first few words and I was like, wait. In childhood, 7s felt disconnected from the nurturing figure in their home. This could have been the mother, father, or grandparent, whoever's doing the bulk of nurturing and caretaking. For whatever reason, whether it was abuse or misunderstandings, the 7 felt that they couldn't count on getting their nurturance they needed on a consistent, dependable level. In order to deal with this, 7s learned to focus on transitional objects or toys and activities that would feed the emptiness inside. They developed the unconscious message that they needed to nurture themselves because nobody else would do it adequately. So they would seek out distractions, activities, possibilities, cough, cough, pranks, cough, cough, and objects that would excite their senses and keep them busy. Getting whatever they thought would make them happy became symbolic of having the nurturing that they always felt was just out of reach.
Yeah. Okay, read your version of 6. Because I say it's 3 or 7, but I think he's a 7 in a 3 situation. Like, his father would rather him be a 3.
Yeah,
if that makes
definitely.
Any sense.
His father is a strong 3. Lord Cassius is an Enneagram 3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In childhood, 6s felt connected to the protective figure in their home. However, this connection wasn't always positive. They internalized their relationship with this figure and learned to depend on them for a sense of security or guidance rather than trusting their own inner voice. No, not keep. If the authority figure was unjust or malevolent, then the 6 would internalize the anger and direct it at themselves, becoming self-destructive. If the protective figure violated their trust, they would become distrustful and rebellious of all authorities. That one's a little more accurate.
I think he's 7 wing 6.
And I think he might have both wings because you see him like in Legacy when his mom's trying to control him. 8s do not like being controlled or harmed or manipulated. And like just the rage in him, I felt that whenever he was like, stop trying to control me, you're a psychopath and your manipulation's not going to work. I feel like he has both wings as a 7, but I do see the 6 wing definitely from that. And I see the 8 wing in the just the anger towards people trying to control him and manipulate him, and him just being like, you know what, I give up. I'm gonna hide in the Forbidden Cities. I'm gonna do something you're not planning for, and I'm gonna not listen. I don't care what people think. So just that sort of giving up, almost.
So 7 fear is being stuck. What's 7 fear?
Pain.
Let's look up the fears.
The 7 fear is being is missing out or being stuck in emotional pain or being bored. Limited, bored, or trapped in emotional pain. That's the actual words for it.
Yeah.
Keith does not like emotional pain.
He keeps running. He likes running away when he has emotional pain.
Yes.
Running away is a very 7 thing in general. Like, in one of my stories, I have a 7 who, he likes to run away. Anyway.
I feel like he does, and he just, whenever, for example, in number 4, Never Seen, whenever he's in that whole loop, he's just like, I'm just gonna pack up in the middle of the night, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna have a raid on the ogre capital, and like, 7s are very like, I have to do something with this. Like, the 7s crave new experiences and just something to sort of fill up that void.
Maybe that's why he seems SE.
It's because he has that wild 7 side of like, I've got to do something to fix this emptiness inside me. Wow, that was deep. Oh man. That's what happens when you put 2 INFJs together at 2 o'clock in the morning. Or it's 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock this time. Okay,
6, 7, 8. I'm trying to think of his tri-type now. It would be 8, 9, 1, and then 2, 3, 4. So he could be. I don't think he has a 3 in his tri-type, and I think that's what makes his dad so angry, is that he has a 2 in his tri-type, and it's from that lack of love and nurture as a child. So he deeply wants that connection to feel wanted. And so I think that's probably the second number in his tri-type is 2.
7, 2, 8?
Yeah. That 8 is too strong to not be in the tri-type.
What about Sophie?
Sophie's tri-type?
Tri-type her.
Let's see, if she's
9.
a 9.
9.
964 now.
Did we say 6? Yeah.
Yeah.
964.
Because the 6s are very, like, wary and very much what are the possibilities of how this could go wrong. And you see that loop in Nightfall for her, that 6 kind of thought process.
What wing is she? Or could she be balanced wings?
Yeah, I think she has balanced wings. I see the one. Well, I don't see much of a one wing anymore, actually. She used to be more of a one wing, and she used to want to be seen as good by the council and good by the elven people. That used to be really important to her, especially in, like, the book 3 era.
Yeah.
And then whenever Everblaze happened and she had the ability restricted and was sort of cast down from society, that was sort of the point where she kind of swung to the 8 wing and was like, well, you know what? I'll run away and join a rebel organization, see if I care.
Yeah,
and that was
I think
kind of
she's
hard for her
running
at first.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fitz.
Yeah, yes. Our ESTJ Fitzy. We said he was a 3. So 2, 3, 4, 5,
Wing
6, 7,
2.
8, 9, 1. Yeah, 3 wing 2. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. He feels like more of an 8. I don't want to, like, just say that, though. But out of 8, 9, 1, he's not a 9. He doesn't avoid conflict. He's very much like, I will help create the conflict if it's needed.
8.
He's not a 1. And I don't know if the 8 is stronger than whatever the other number would be, but I don't see 5, 6, or 7
8 makes
very
sense.
strongly.
Think of how he feels when his world goes out of control. How he tries, I think he's 8.
And he's
Okay,
even very
3.
frustrated with Sophie for not being completely honest. He doesn't directly, like, accuse her or make the connection, like, of manipulation, but he's like, I don't want her to try to control this relationship, basically. And I think that's kind of why Fitsby didn't work, because they're 8s clashing, just being like, no, I'm in charge. I'm in charge.
They're both J types, and totally.
Yeah.
So what's his last one? 3, 8.
It would have to be either 5, 6, or 7.
Yep.
He's
5?
He's not 5. Is he 5-ish? Does he do information collecting?
He does pretentious information collecting.
What do you mean? Like, when? What are you thinking of?
Like, oh my gosh, Sophie. It's magic. It's not magic. I don't know. I feel like he would like to explain things to people.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go with that. Because I don't see 6 or 7 at all.
I don't see 6 or 7 either.
Mm-hmm. And it might be different
for
an observant or a sensor to, like, be a 5 or have a 5 in their tri-type. It might look a little bit different than an intuitive 5. So it might just be an observant 5. Like, that might be what they're like. I wouldn't know. I ain't
Okay,
one.
so what about Keith's wing? I'm writing all this down.
Okay, good, because I'm not. Keith.
Okay.
He has a little bit of. He doesn't really think things through like a 7-wing 6 would. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of avoidant of that side. So he is a 7-wing 8. It's with the ditching classes. And I realized I just said something about Fitz and Sophie's 8s clashing.
Though he is. Yeah.
I feel like Keith's and Sophie's 8s do clash too.
Though the 6 stereotype is loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So he is very loyal. He might have fairly balanced wings, but I feel like the 8 wing would be a tiny bit stronger. Like, I don't see him overthinking his own plans a lot.
Yeah. Okay,
he uses
I'm gonna
TI to reason out whatever he needs, and then he's just like, and here we go.
So 8, I'm just double checking. 8 is, I don't want to be controlled. 6 is, oh, who's coming in my room?
6 is, I don't want to be unprepared.
We're recording.
You still are?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost done.
Love you.
Bye. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We really need to tell our siblings not to. Anyway.
Yeah. Mine wouldn't listen anyway. 8s are more like, I don't want to be controlled, and 6s are like, I don't want to be unprepared. 6s are very similar to 5s. It's just that 6s are more anxious and overthinking, and 5s are more overstudying. Like, they're more, let me research this. So 5s are like the thinking 6s.
He's not at all like the 7-wing 6 I know too, so.
But 6s also do fear abandonment, and I feel like in a way, like, him always saying, please don't hate me, please don't hate me, that is his 6-wing coming out. Michaela's a 6, by the way. I just totally exposed her.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again,
This
we
is
only
one
got to
thing
the
where, like,
main
having
three, but
Yeah. I
Sorry.
mean, we could, let's see, we could do, there aren't a lot of people, the problem with typing fictional characters is you have to have a lot of data to be able to type them accurately, and I feel like we don't have, because there's so many characters, so there's just not a lot of characters that we have enough from to be able to type them accurately.
Yeah, even
So, yeah.
Dex would be
even
difficult.
It's really hard because after book 6, you just don't see a lot of him. And you also don't see a lot of his thought process. You hear him a little bit, but it's just like he gets overshadowed a little bit, which is sad because I think he's cool, but
Yeah.
it's the way the
I mean,
series
same
is.
for, like,
I mean, it's
Tam,
the story.
Lynn, Fiona.
Tam, I feel like
all of
Tam
them.
might be a little bit easier. Do you want to try to do him?
Yeah. Tam
Let's-
and Fiona, I could see
Mm-hmm.
being able to. Do we have time?
Fiona. I think so, yeah. Because I'm going to need a few days to edit this anyway.
Okay, cool.
Since we're going to be moving and all of that. So guys, never mind, I won't explain the whole thing, there's no reason to. Tam, so originally in the last episode, we said he was INTP, and I strongly disagree.
Yeah.
He's not.
Why did we do that?
We didn't know what we were doing. I was listening back, like I got halfway through, I was listening to the part 2 episode, and we did a lot of letter by letter typing. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't try to intuitive sensor type before we went into functions. We did extrovert, introvert, feeling, thinking, which you can't do feeling, thinking, typing, by the way. You have to do functions for feeling, thinking, because FE will fool you and make you think that that person's a feeler, as we learned with Keith. But extroverted feeling, you'll just be like, oh, it's a feeler because they're considerate, while you don't even think about.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can observant versus intuitive type pretty easily, because that's usually a strong preference. Tam, I see him as like a stereotype ISTP. Like, I don't care if people think.
ISTP?
100%.
Wait a second.
100%.
ISTP?
Yes. Do you know any ISTPs?
Okay, what are the functions? Yeah, well, okay. I know Joel. Here we go again. And I can't tell if he's ISTP or ISTJ, because he seems ISTP, but he's very stubborn.
An I. Okay, let me explain to you, like...
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go through the functions of ISTP and ISTJ, and then I'm going to explain to you the vibe of them, because I know them both very well. So an ISTP is a extroverted sensing auxiliary. So that means they're an introverted thinking dom. So they're still a TI dom, which is what we had as his dominant function before, even if we didn't know what we were talking about. So they're TI, SE, and then NIFE. So they have the same functions as an INFJ, but it's mixed around. So introverted thinking.
Hold on. Say that again. I'm writing this down because it helps
Introverted
me to think.
thinking.
ISTP. Okay. TI.
SE.
Okay.
NI. FE.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So inferior extroverted feeling still, so they're going to be really bad at it, just like an INTP would be. And so kind of the stereotype INTP is like the gaming nerd who has to write a note card to themselves to get through any social situation, otherwise they'll...
INTP or ISTP?
This is stereotype INTP.
Okay. Yeah.
And that, it's not exactly Dex, but it's more Dex vibes than Tam vibes, like an INTP, even though Dex is not an INTP.
Yeah, INTP is not
I
Tam.
don't see him as an INTP.
I know this now.
ISTP is like the very quiet, very like, not emo, but just very quiet, like, good with their hands and good at fixing things and good at material stuff person.
I
who's
100%.
randomly deep.
That's Joel.
Okay,
That is
my granddad
looking at the
is an
functions.
ISTP.
Okay. Yeah, that's Joel. Except, is your granddad randomly stubborn? Joel would agree with
yeah, very stubborn.
Yeah.
And then just like at random times,
Almost
they
seems
don't
like
say
a
many
J,
words at all.
but isn't.
And
yeah.
just like they don't say many words. And my granddad has an ESFP wife. So my grandmother is an ESFP with no NI.
hilarious.
Like if there was negative NI, she would have it. And then he's an ISTP with, like, the most developed introverted thinking. Like, he can't explain a thought to someone else to save his life. That man, he's funny. And so she's just always going on and on and on. And then he'll say something, and it's, like, insulting her, but in the most, like, secretly introverted intuition way that it just goes right over her head. And it's so funny to watch them interact.
The fact that this
it's
is Joel
so
and
funny.
Riley.
Oh my goodness, that's so true.
Anyway.
It's so
I gotta send
funny.
you a meme about this exact thing, too.
And so, and I'm just sitting there like the INFJ, understanding every part of the social situation and finding it hilarious. And by the way, my grandmother and my sister, both ESFPs, interacting, terrifying. Yeah. So anyway, an ISTP stereotype is just like sulking in the corner, watching people interact and being like, ugh, humanity. And then, and if you guys are really interested in Myers-Briggs, I recommend the Frank James channel, because if you watch all 200 and whatever of his Myers-Briggs in a situation videos, which I have, you will get a very good vibe of each type.
Jaycie.
How it's just instantly like, Tam is an ISTP. It's accurate. But you know how he'll randomly be deep and randomly be like, I care about Lynn, and also, you guys are wrong because I do have NI here, and I could tell you that I've actually thought about this, and you're wrong.
I'm thinking.
He's
Okay. Because I see it, and I don't, again. Okay.
Why do you not see it? What's your feeling?
I'm trying to figure that out. I guess I see him as a J.
ISTPs do feel like a J. I mean...
Yeah. I guess... I feel like if he's ISTP...
Oh, let me explain why he's not ISTJ.
NI.
I forgot to explain that. So, okay, ISTJ. I worked with a couple, so they're fun. SITE.
TE.
And then FI. And then Extroverted Intuition Inferior.
Okay.
So,
I'm listening.
ISTJ is a robot. And they would agree. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I mean, like, if you built a robot, they would be an ISTJ. Like, C-3PO is probably ISTJ. I'm not even joking. The ISTJ I know, I actually, like, legitimately thought she was a robot for a little bit.
Yes, I've heard of her.
And I actually didn't know this, but later on, a joke came up where they called her a robot. And no offense if you're an ISTJ, but she takes pride in it. The ISTJ I work with does. So... maybe you take pride in it too. If you don't be offended, because it's a stereotype, and I'm mostly joking, but I'm also not. So that SITE is just like, okay, I have all of the data here. The ISTJ I know, by the way, is obsessed with, like, charts and data. So she's like, I have all of the data here, and based on the data I have, and this is how she talks, based on the data I have, this is the most efficient way to complete this task. And I'm like, thanks, Siri. Wow, that helps. And then also, according to her, she also, whenever she's thinking, she's running through scenarios in her head and overthinking scenarios, which is an extroverted intuition inferior thing. So yeah, and being worried about them.
So, why did we say he was not INTJ again?
Tam? Good question.
I know he had reasons.
I haven't thought about
because
well, I mean, besides him just generally not really feeling NI dominant, he doesn't feel extroverted thinking to me. Does he have TE-ish plans? Because an INTJ would, at this point, because he's just like, no, leave me alone. I want to get away from society. I don't want to deal with this. This ain't my problem. Don't draw me into this problem, Sophie. He was the most reluctant to join the Black Swan. Lynn was like, yes, we will help people and it will be fun. And Tam was like, no, I want to stick out of this. Leave me alone. I'm not a part of your big problem.
To me, that seems like it could be INTJ-ish.
It depends on the thing. An INTJ would be like, what organization? I already have one, and it's stronger than yours. An INTJ has a master plan, and ISTP is just like, can everyone leave me alone? And I live in a basement for 3 years. It was this
Yeah.
one Frank James video. This is what I'm kind of basing it off of. But it was the types in quarantine, and ISTP was like, "Has it already been 3 weeks? This was the most enjoyable time of my life. I've built a helicopter out of the extra springs in my basement." It was so funny.
I guess I just think of Tam as, I think the version of Tam in my mind is different than the actual version of Tam.
It might be. I do see an I in him, but you've got to remember, people can have really developed tertiary functions. Like, my introverted thinking function, I feel like, and yours too, both of ours, is super developed, and that's why, we do the podcast, is because we like discussing things and possibilities and talking about the logic behind it.
Okay. I do see ISTP now, actually.
Yay. Because
That's
I was,
very
like,
interesting.
instantly I got those vibes from him. What does Enneagram be? Do we know enough about him to know his Enneagram?
Oh, we could, though, if we think about the childhood twins. He's not a 3.
No.
6? Is it 6?
Is he suspicious, though?
Or is it 8?
He's not quite... Because 8s are like
he
the
is
masterminds.
suspicious.
Yeah, he's more of like a 6-ish... Is he a 5?
Or is he a 6'5"?
6'5".
He's very wary.
He's just like, He's the 6th side of my dad. The very, like, everyone has it out for me. I trust no one.
That is like a literal Tam quote.
Yeah.
I don't trust you unless I read your shadow vapor.
Yeah. So he's got to be a 6'5" then. Because he wants all of the
That's
information,
so
but because
funny.
of that.
That makes him the same Enneagram as Joel, too.
Oh my goodness. Does Joel act like Tam?
Actually, yes. We would always joke back when everybody thought Dex was lame and say that he was Dex and he despised it. But yeah, we would say, like, he's Dex/Tam.
Wait,
and then we
Joel
would say
like Keith,
Riley was
though?
Keith
That's a
Fitz.
question.
No.
Okay, see, because Tam doesn't... that makes no sense. Because...
And he ships Fitzfee randomly. He really...
What?
I don't know.
Would an ISTP like an ESTJ at all? Yeah, because they're TI and TE-DOMs. They're opposite shadows.
Exactly.
So that's why he naturally liked Fitz. Okay.
And I think he only shipped it because I shipped Fitz. I mean, Keith Foster. Let's be honest here.
That's such an ISTP thing, too. Like, if Keith had an opinion, Tam would just be like, well, I plead the opposite, whatever it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't listening, but I strongly disagree.
But, okay, actually, the more I think about this, it makes more and more sense. Because Tam and Sophie's friendship is a lot like mine and Joel's friendship.
That's hilarious.
Where they're just, like, mutual, like, they can just look at each other. I could just see them looking at each other and being like, oh my goodness, like, I see it. I see it. Where Tam is just like the ally randomly. Remember in Never Seen when they meet? And, yeah, okay, I see it. I don't know how to explain this without getting into really specific things, but...
Yeah, that's... Welcome to the world of introverted thinking. I can't voice my thoughts.
I'll explain it to you when this is off, but over text so I can voice my thoughts.
Okay, so I love that we actually came up with the right types. I hope people like this because I'm so excited right now.
Okay, what about Biana? I know we probably don't have any time.
I feel like
she's definitely ENFJ. I'm not changing that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She's like a stereotype ENFJ. Very focused on others' needs, very intuitive and knowing how to fulfill those needs. Focused on the deeper meaning behind things,
she's
especially
not
with the Becker
SI.
legacy thing. Whenever she heard Alvar mention the Becker legacy thing, she was just like, I'm gonna go figure that out for myself. And then and literally she said she did research into that and was trying to figure out the deeper meaning behind it. So stereotype ENFJ, natural leader, naturally focused on the group, and really selfless. Like, if you think about, I feel like in her core fear probably changed when we get to Enneagram, because in the first few books she was very concerned with external perception, and then Nightfall happens and she learns that she has the strength within herself. ENFJs usually have very strong introverted feeling, and so I feel like that probably changed right around then. And by the way, Biana is very much like Kylie.
ENFJs? Introverted
ENFJs,
feeling?
they'll usually have pretty strong introverted feeling. Yeah, it's their first shadow, so they'll be able to use it.
Oh,
kind of
okay.
well.
Yeah.
And like Biana is so much like Kylie, like just
100%.
so much like her. And Kylie is an ENFJ for you guys who don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, ENFJs are just really natural leaders, and I feel like Biana's probably the most like leadership material out of all of them. Like I feel like she should be the leader of Team Valiant over Sophie. Hot take from Jaycie. But like I don't know, Sophie's literally just the leader because she's the main character of the Moonlark. But Biana,
I don't know.
Biana is so underrated. That's my
Biana, okay, I don't know if she should be leader, but she should be like co-leader. Definitely.
Yeah. Biana, because Biana's so naturally good at just like looking out at other people and knowing where to jump in, where like who needs assignments. She would be much better
I
at,
guess
like,
that's why I
delegating.
think. Well, she kind of does that, doesn't she?
Yeah, and she even at one point
remember where Sophie
comes to them.
Sophie is out of it. Yeah, and she gives it over to Biana. So I guess what I'm saying is co-leader.
Doesn't she like say
Sophie
like,
should be the
"Listen, we need to
mastermind.
do this."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about leader, but I see what you're saying, definitely.
She's just very
I feel like
focused.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so but what I meant was her Enneagram. What would be her Enneagram?
So for the first few books, I feel like it's one of those like 2, 3, 4 because those are the ones that are most concerned with identity. She could be a 3 as well. That might just kind of be a Vacker thing because they're very central. Do you think she's like a 3-wing 4?
3.
She's just very,
Or would she be a 2?
She might.
I
She
can hear
might-
myself
could see
lagging.
this. You're not lagging on my side very
Okay.
much, so that's good.
Okay. 2? Wait, okay. Hold on. Read the 2 thing you read earlier. Did I read it or did you read it?
I think you did, but I have it pulled up, so I can read it for you.
Okay.
The Enneagram 2 child, self-sacrifice. 2s felt ambivalent towards the protective figure in their homes. In some way, they felt that there is a lack of either nurturance, guidance, or structure coming from the protective figure. To deal with this, 2s created an identity that they felt like would be complementary to the protective figure. They developed the underlying feeling that the only way they could earn love was through selflessness, goodness, and repression of their own needs. The 2 learned not to ask for help, not to assert their own needs, and to give to others more than they gave to themselves. In their quest for worth, they often learned to stifle and repress their own desires. Their self-love became conditional upon their earning a sense of worth through taking care of others. They want to feel needed by people and liked as if they belong. This gives them a sense of security. In a child, this could show up as the 2 doing the household chores of the younger siblings, or taking on the responsibilities of the parents as a way to make their lives easier and also earn their family's love and affection. Man, I feel this. Through being dutiful and nurturing, they feel they can finally earn love that most children take for granted. 2s become healthier and happier when they learn that they're loved for who they are, etc. 2 growth. Yeah. So that's I guess the childhood wound is sort of trying to overcompensate for others.
Okay.
Which isn't necessarily her. She's not that self-sacrificial.
Yeah, I don't think it's her. Yeah.
3s felt deeply connected to the parental figure. Oh, right. They learned to intuit the nurturing parents' needs before they were expressly stated and strive to meet those needs, and they wanted approval, that look of approval. They gathered tokens of achievement in hopes of being loved.
3s?
And they developed the habit of working on their ego self rather than their true self. That sounds like her whenever she's being like fake friends with all those other girls and with Sophie. They struggle with an underlying feeling that their true self was undeserving or worthless. In secret, they often believed that if people knew who they really were, they would reject or abandon them. So they tried to look good, smile brightly, and win prizes or achievements that would distract them and others from the true self inside. That's not Biana. Let me read
guess she's
4 just
3
in
too.
case. Do you want me to read the 4 as well?
I don't think she's 4, but you can go ahead.
4s felt disconnected from both the parental figures in their lives. This could have been for extreme or mild reasons. Some 4s were abused by both their parents, while others just felt like their parents didn't see them for who they really were. In many cases, 4s felt like their parents' advice and comfort was very generic, as if it was meant for a child who was totally different than they were. Fours felt so out of place in their own families, so they tried early on to accept what made them different, to notice it and evaluate it. This was a coping mechanism that helped them deal with those feelings of rejection and isolation. However, through developing this coping mechanism, they often set themselves on a trajectory of feeling unusual, different, and out of touch with ordinary people. More than most things, fours want to find their identity because they believe this will take away the feelings of melancholy and loneliness that have plagued them their whole lives. So she's more 3-ish than 4-ish.
She's more 3-ish than 4-ish, but I think she's wing 4 because think about the Vacker legacy and how she's like, ooh, identity. Yeah. 3 wing 4, I'm saying. I wonder what Alvarez is.
I feel like, I wonder if all 3 of them are at some point like a 3 and then they all had their breaking points. Well, Biana and Alvar had their breaking points. Fitz is still a 3 so far. But I feel like Alvar had a breaking point.
Wait, what do you think Biana has become then?
Let's see.
I can hear the thunderstorm noise in the background of your
That's gonna
audio.
be so annoying. I'm so sorry, guys. My brother sleeps in the middle of the hallway. I'm not making that up.
Wait, what?
So, my brother sleeps in the loft, because he had to move out of his room to make room for the baby because we have a ton of kids.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And so sorry, you're gonna have to listen to weird thunderstorm sounds. It's gonna be for like 10 minutes. It's okay. So what was I gonna say? The core fear for Biana after book 6, well, she learns to kind of accept that she could just be a mature 3, but I don't think that's what it is because there's kind of almost a shift in her. Like, you can tell Biana after book 6 is a different Biana, a more confident and self-reliant Biana. So I don't really know what that would make her. She's more outgoing, but I don't necessarily mean, because, there are the Enneagrams that are, like, stereotypically extroverted Enneagrams, and then the ones that are stereotypically introverted, so, like, 1s are more introverted, 3s are more extroverted, 5s are really introverted, 7s are really extroverted, and those are, like, and 9s are introverted.
Okay, we might not be able to figure it out because we don't know enough about her weaknesses. Or this is a stretch. She can't be 9, right?
She's not avoidant at all.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Because she, like, confronts Sophie.
8?
And I wonder.
Just in a healthy spot?
She could be a really healthy 8. Like, a 8 with a really, really good, like, you know how 8s kind of grow to 2s? Like, they have attributes of 2s when they're healthy? She could just be a really healthy 8.
Yeah.
With a 9 wing.
We need more about her to figure this out.
Yeah. So if someone was like, choose now or die, I'd be like, okay, really healthy 8 with a lot of 2 attributes with a 9 wing. That would be like my really quick guess. But that's my whole thought. Like, I don't have hard evidence for that other than that she's good at confrontation and also good at general peacemaking. She's just a good leader.
Yeah.
Also, my computer's about to die, so this is really a good time to start to finish up the podcast.
Yeah.
Right when the thunderstorm starts, the computer dies, and we finish the main characters. Other than Dex, I'm so sorry, Dex. We don't know enough about you. And Lynn, I guess.
I feel like we could do Dex.
Lynn,
I have no idea.
Right. Let's wait until, because I feel like even once the next book comes out, we can give our final thoughts for everyone. Oh, yeah, and I can say really quick, I agree with the Myers-Briggs that we said for Dex and Lynn, ISFP for Dex and ISFJ for Lynn. Off the top of my head, I don't see anything wrong with either of those. The one I wonder about is Dex being ISFP, but we just don't have enough to 100% say that's wrong.
I think it's right still. But yeah, you're right.
Cool.
I'm lagging so badly, I can hear it.
You're good. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of this episode. So, thank you for enduring our very long discussion. Yes. I love this. This was so much fun for me. I love that this is the thing that people listen to. And Cindy, do you have any other thoughts before we turn off the recording?
Did you just call me Cindy?
I said Sydney, but I was
Jaycie.
also distracted because a
I
bug
heard
is crawling.
Cindy. Oh, okay. Oh, another bug. Nope, I
Yeah.
think I'm good. Just if we don't record for a little bit after this, please give us grace because we're trying, I promise.
Yes, we will probably be once a month going forward.
And we want to finish and keep going through the books. It's just the problem of time. And then also, it's okay because we have a lot longer until Shannon comes out with the next book at this point. So, yeah.
We have like a year and 2 months.
We have time.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening. Sorry about all the weird sounds. I'll try to fix that in editing. And have a nice month, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. We love y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Forbidden Cities podcast. Leave us a review and tell a friend about the podcast if you liked us. Email us with comments and episode suggestions at theforbiddencitiespodcast@gmail.com. And to follow us on Instagram, just search @Forbidden Cities Podcast.